Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Strategic Scrutiny Committee, which has been undertaken virtually in accordance with the enacted government regulations during the current coronavirus pandemic. Before we start the meeting, can I please remind all members of the following? Can you make sure that your microphones are muted when you're not speaking? I can see there's a few councillors already 1 minute in who have failed to mute their microphones, so please make sure you're muted if you're not speaking. Please try to avoid repeating points, stay focused on the topic being discussed, avoid interrupting other councillors, although it's quite easy to do if you are on mute. Remember, this meeting is being broadcast live on Facebook the normal way, so just that members are aware the public can see and hear us at all times, and therefore take care to prevent any background distractions. I believe there was a few at full council on Tuesday, but there we are. It's all part of the fun. With that in mind, can I call on Mark Devon, please, to do a roll call of all councillors and officers to ascertain who is with us this evening, please. Mark.
Thank you, Chair. Could I ask councillors who are in attendance, please state you're present when I call your name. Councillor Sills.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Newby.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Atkinson.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Branston. I don't believe I've seen him arrive yet. Councillor Buswell.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Hannaford. I haven't seen him arrive. Councillor Henson.
Present.
Thank you. Haven't seen Councillor Lamb arrive. Councillor Lyons.
Apologies for Councillor Lamb. Sorry to interrupt. Apologies for Councillor Lamb.
Oh, thank you. Councillor Diana Moore.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Jemima Moore.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Owen. I think I had that, yeah. Thank you. Councillor Packham.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Patterson.
Present.
Thank you. I'll just also do a roll call of officers in attendance. I know Bindu, our junior director, is joining us a bit later. Joe Yelland, director.
Present.
Thank you. John Paul Hedge.
Present.
Thank you. And we also have myself, Sharon Sursons, and Howard Bassett, Democratic Services officers, in attendance as well. And we are quorate to proceed, Chair.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Mark. So I now have to sign the minutes of the meeting of the 2nd of July 2020. Are all members that were present at the meeting happy to approve that? If you just give me a nod, I'm happy with just nods. I can see a wagging finger from Councillor Owen. Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Chair. My presence at the meeting has been omitted on the minutes. I was present at the meeting, as evidenced later on in the minutes by my asking a supplementary question of John Street. So I was there. So if that could be altered, and also my attendance record on the council website, if that could be amended, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Well spotted, Councillor Owen. That, of course, can be done for you. Otherwise, I saw nods, I believe. Excellent. I will sign those minutes when I get a chance. The next item is agenda item 3, declarations of interests. Members should disclose any pecuniary interests that relate to business on the agenda that have not already been included on the register of interests before any discussion on that item takes place. Item 4, we have no part 2 items, so there's no need to exclude any of the public from any of tonight's discussions. Item 5, which is for questions from members of the public under Standing Order 19. We have no questions from members of the public. So we can move swiftly on to item 6, which is a series of presentations from portfolio holders and questions and answers from members of the committee and members who aren't members of the committee. And we have 3 portfolio holders with us today. We have Councillor Phil Bialik, the leader of the City Council, Councillor Rachel Sutton, who is the portfolio holder for Climate, Culture, and we have Councillor Bob Fole, who is the portfolio holder for City Planning and Development. So without further ado, I will ask Councillor Bialik to give a brief presentation before we move on to questions to him.
Thank you, Chair. People have my report before them. I'm not going to go over it. I think people would have seen many of it, and much of the work I do is covered within the executive minutes in any event. There's just one point I would like to be recorded in relation to, it makes a remark to the guest work, and for the foreseeable future, I have asked the Deputy Leader, Councillor Rachel Sutton, will now be taking my place on those leadership discussions within the guests for now, Chair. It's just a point just to record because it does make reference in there. I see there are a couple of questions about the place board, and I'll be able to give a bit more information about the place board. One of the other key areas to mention, Chair, is with regard to my partnerships within the sub-regional growth area. I do attend a number of meetings on behalf of Devon leaders. I was elected on behalf of the Devon leaders to represent us on the LEP board. £35.4 million has been allocated to the LEP board, and as a major sort of generator of jobs in the sub-region, you would have thought we would have had quite a bit of investment coming in. Well, we haven't. Some money has gone to the Exeter Science Park, quite rightly. We have partners there, and I think it will come out now. We have made an application with some support towards the bus station, and to help us with regard to some of the COVID costs that we've had to have because of that. So that's there. And what I would say, and I'll end on this, Chair, is I walked around the bus station in the new leisure centre area today to see the development. I think it's looking like a city centre, and if you see the new bus station that's coming, and I think people can't fail to be impressed by having a look around the outside. There's some questions, as I say, where I think I'll be able to give a bit more information. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Buswell, could you please ask your question?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. Right. The pandemic has had a huge, far-reaching impact. It made unprecedented demands in short order on all elements of society, and none more so than the public sector, including this council. Can the leader please explain how the council was able to respond so quickly and stay on top of demand to sustain services at the same time as launching new initiatives such as the coordination of community support? Thank you.
Councillor Barlick.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Buswell. I've been really impressed with the team, and in particular the team led by Director Joe Yelland. Of course, all directors have played an important role in how we have discharged those services that were handed to us. Local government in the former districts are indeed the last mile, and it was so important. I want to acknowledge and be impressed with the work of the communities. We've had a number of communities that we've supported who've been doing a great deal in work in delivering those services to shielded people and to vulnerable people in the Exeter. We continue to support vulnerable people, and I believe you all had an email from the director today, Bindu, in relation to what we're still continuing to do. I think it's because we were already mindful of what we're doing with the communities and how we work with the communities that we were quick to respond, and I'm so pleased that we're doing it, and we're still there despite the problems we have with the budget, which I don't want to go into. That was 2 nights ago. We are still managing to support communities. Obviously, you know, I've been clear to say we can't support everybody to every extent that they want, but I think we have been helping, and we will continue to do so, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary?
No, I don't. Thank you. That was very clear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now to questions from non-committee members, and we have 2 questions from Councillor Oliver. Councillor Oliver, if you'd like to read out your first question.
Okay, will do. Can you tell us how the place board has helped with the COVID crisis and recovery, please?
Councillor Barlett.
Thank you. Basically the place board, as we call it, was originally set up and is still the purpose of helping us to engage partners within the city with regard to livable Exeter and those 8 to 9 sites that are now within the guest out for consultation. And we understand that if we are to be a city going forward, we need that collaboration, particularly like the Preston and a lot of other authorities have done that. We were in a unique position whereby we basically had this assembled people here in Exeter from the various organisations and businesses at the start of COVID. And I do believe that if we never had that structure in place, people would have been saying to me earlier on, Councillor, you need to get all these big agencies, all these big people, you need to get them round the table because we need to be working with these people for a recovery in Exeter. So what we've done is we have discussed much with them in relation to their business and what they need to do. But as far as the council is concerned, we have put, that group decided to have a retail, and I think through City Futures, many of you have been on that transport working group. There's been a retail working group, and they are working together with all of it. Exeter City Council on its own, we cannot pass a motion at the council meeting which will deliver us a recovery. What we need to do is to work with multiple agencies throughout the city to try to bring Exeter back to life. That is the role, that is an important thing. And I believe by us being that glue, that gel, to get people working together, it's been so pleasing to see the college, the university, the Met Office, the police, the Chamber of Commerce, just to name a few, getting together to be able to work on a recovery. That's different to our recovery. We discussed that the other night, Chair. That's our plan going forward, which nobody else has anything to do with. And so that's, I think, we need, as a city, we are just not the City Council, we are everybody, and we all need to move together. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary?
Yeah, I do have a supplementary. Councillor Bialik, can the Place Board take decisions on behalf of the city?
No, and I've got to make it perfectly clear. They're a critical friend. They do not take decisions for us. I will not. Why would I want an oscillating body outside of the council to take the decisions for us? We have 39 democratically elected members who have the authority on behalf of the City Council to discharge those responsibilities. We can manage that. And that's not to say that we do not seek advice and support from other organisations. I have to, in my many visits to the Railway Club, I am offered advice on each and every occasion I walk in that social club. So it is something that we all have to have, and we need to listen to our critical friends out there in order for us as a local authority, residents of Exeter, to make a decision. So I hope I've helped you with that one, Councillor.
Your second question, Councillor Oliver?
Yes. Can I ask what you're doing about inclusivity and diversity on the Place Board, please?
Sorry,
Okay.
Councillor. Sorry, over to you. Sorry.
That's right. I was waiting for the cue. Thank you. This is an important matter. So this has been, it's been a new thing, the Place Board, that I wanted to get these people together to show a little bit of interest. What's it got to do with you is really my question to sometimes the Place Board. But I am mindful of perhaps it is viewed as middle class, male, and people in privileged positions. We had a briefing sessions of all members a week or so ago, and what I want to say to this scrutiny committee is I've listened and I'm doing something about it. And I can tell you today that and these formal appointments and report will come to the September the 1st Executive Chair. So this isn't something in my gift. It's not like the New Year's honours list where I give a little bit of patronage out to people. It's not like that at all. It will be reported to the executive and then in turn to full council following. But Claire Kennedy, for many of you know, Claire Kennedy is the curator of TEDx Exeter. She is accepted and is prepared to sit on the board, and I think that will be a very good person to have on that board to give her to give us her views. And also who's been quite prominent in a number of things is, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this, Caladan Legaze. She is the managing director of Sancho's and the MBA down over 4th Street. So there's a new genre of, we want to get some interest. We will be having also, because of COVID, it's been a little bit of a delay, the new vice principal of the university, Lisa Roberts, will also be invited to join us. And we're in discussions, and we can't say who, but we are talking to a woman candidate involved within Homes England, which is a national thing. But this has been our dilemma, you see, Councillor. We asked the organisation to send forward a representative. We're trying to be a little bit more sort of explicit in how we want to balance the board. And I just would add, we do have Elliot Lee Major, who's at the university, who deals with social mobility, and obviously we're talking to him. He's very good on all of that. So I do believe, I hope, when I've just said there's 4 appointments there that we're about to make, within a week or so of the last meeting. I'm not expecting everybody to cheer me immediately, but I would hope everybody in this room and others recognise what we're going to do. If I can just also add at this moment very quickly, Chair, is I will be bringing a report. I will be bringing a report about the business of the Liverpool board and how it affects the council, and well, there are no decisions they're making, and what that is about in relation to all of that. And there will be some minutes relating to the sports board and all that lot will be. I have listened. I understand these issues that have been brought to me, so I intend to do that. Furthermore, I intend to ask the Chief Exec again in 3 or 4 months' time to have a further briefing of the work. I'm trying to demonstrate, to be perfectly transparent, Chair, I've got nothing to hide in all of this, and I hope this helps everybody in the room on this matter.
Thanks, Councillor Bialik. Do you have a supplementary question, Councillor Oliver?
No, I don't have a supplementary. I think Councillor Bialik knows I'll keep tabs on him.
Excellent, thank you very much. And your final question, well, the final question to Councillor Bialik is from Councillor Martin. So could you please read your question?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Clear messages and consistent information is critical during any crisis. Although we may not have had the clarity or consistency we would have liked from central government, can the leader give some idea what the council is doing regarding information and clear communication?
Thank you, and over to you, Councillor Bialik.
Thank you, Chair. The council has been at the heart of providing a reliable source of information during COVID-19. It has been relaying key information with partners and the local resilience forum, Public Health England, and the Cabinet Office. It has also been leading on communications around the extensive recovery of the city. It launched Exeter Coronavirus Updates Facebook page, which has attracted 7,124 members, mostly in the first week of the crisis. And since its launch in the middle of March, there have been over 2,400 posts. In the past 28 days, there has been almost 300,000 post views. Not all of my videos, by the way. And with around 2,500 comments, with 6,000 around likes and shares. In total, there has been more than 21,000 comments, all of which have been monitored, responded to, or moderated, and more than 66,000 reactions. The council has been busy producing a weekly newsletter with key information and updates for 7,420 subscribers to our news service, as well as all the other channels. Even branding refuse lorries with our key messages around the community support. And I would like to thank also, I'll add my thanks to the directors who've been producing, in particular, the community's update, which we've all been getting as councillors. I know they've like thinned out a little bit, but they were there at the start. And I'd like to thank them very much for their work indeed. As you can see, councillor, I do believe we are communicating, although be it on that platform, with quite a vast number of people in this city. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Bialik. Do you have a supplementary question, Councillor Martin?
I don't, thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much. Okay, so it's now over to members of the committee. If anyone wishes to raise any points, I believe Councillor Atkinson, you wish to ask a question of Councillor Bialik. Councillor Atkinson, over to you. You will have to unmute, unfortunately.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, I've got so many machines going here to work out which one to unmute. Oh, yeah, congratulations on being appointed to the Heart of the Southwest board. I mean, I think it's only right that Exeter, as economic powerhouse for Devon, should have a place on that board. And just so he knows, I've been appointed this year to scrutinise the work of that board as well. So I hope that we can work together to ask difficult questions in support of Exeter. I have also asked the the executive member for Devon County Council on the shovel-ready projects of that, and I've got some figures in front of me which say that the science park they're going to bid for 5 million for that, 800,000 for the bus station, and 1 million for the training academy. So that's only about 6.4 million coming to Exeter out of, as you say, 34 billion. Yes, so I can confirm what you're saying. Though, of course, they are also asking for money for ZCAT. So that's also. But my question to you really is, you're also on this Team Devon outfit, which is, so I'm just trying to bring together where all these separate ventures go, and you, together with other councillors and partners across the whole of Devon, have produced this prospectus, which is to bid for funding to kickstart Devon and Exeter's economic recovery after COVID-19. You just tell us a bit about where you see that going, that goes in relation to your work on the Heart of the Southwest, and our own economic economic development activity here in the council, and in particular whether you think that will give us more money. I understand that an implementation plan is going to be prepared, but no timetables for this. But I'd be very interested if you could tell us just more about economic recovery.
Thank you, Councillor. First of all, those figures that you said at the start, I was aware. I knew they were embargoed until yesterday. That's why I didn't give in any specific numbers. But clearly, if they've been unembargoed, then you've mentioned them, and that's correct. With regard to Team Devon, now that's quite interesting, you see, because I'm not part of Team Devon. I attend meetings of all the Devon leaders together with the leader of the county. It is not as well. See, this is the problem. The county have taken over this committee as if it's theirs. As far as I'm concerned, Councillor, I attend as leader of a sovereign, independent local authority. Bring back control. That's be my mantra soon. And no, so look, I'm quite worried on how they're trying to formulate this now. When it comes to recovery programs, obviously, Devon has a role in bringing their recovery plan together. And all these recovery plans it's a bit like I was going to say a Russian doll, but I better not mention that at this moment. But, you know, you peel off one layer and there's another layer. So we've got the Heart of the Southwest, who has a strategic recovery plan, of which this 35.4 million is part of. Devon has got their economy team doing some strategic stuff on theirs. And we are working with partners in Exeter to do what I call, well, it's the last mile, the coalface stuff. And my concern about that team, Devon, is that it's becoming a little bit too mixed up. I do not want to be taking decisions which are rightfully the property of Devon County councillors and the Devon County, nor do I want it to go the other way, councillor. This does move into some remarks. We were talking about the possible recovery and local government reorganisation white paper, which is coming out. So I do not want to passively or sleepwalk into a position of whereby we are actually asking somebody else to do it. That paper that went forward for those plans was a joint effort from all the local authorities. I have to say, and if any of them are watching, some authorities are more progressive than others. Exeter, we're out in front. Everybody knows in this room what we are trying to do as an economic driver in Exeter. We have the biggest travel to work area outside of London, bigger than Bristol, and far bigger, I'm pleased to say, than Plymouth. And we are an economic driver, and we must be seen as that, and they must understand that we want to produce good, clean growth jobs going forward. So it's quite a complex thing, councillor. I'm glad in your role as a city council and also on the county that you are displaying an interest, because they are public meetings at some stage, those let board meetings. I've never seen a member of the public join it. There are opportunities for questions from the members of the public. I've never seen one. And so I think there should be more public scrutiny, and I'm pleased you're on that scrutiny, councillor, to do just that. It's an important institution, bringing a lot of money to this southwest area. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute. Thank you. Councillor Diana Moore.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your presentation. Just want to follow up on Councillor Oliver's question about the recovery process. Can you please tell me what support that the Place Board and the City Council is giving to the Freeport proposal for Exeter Airport and Plymouth?
Right, thank you. Right, thank you. There was a further meeting discussion with the East Devon leader and the airport, of which I was unable to attend yesterday. And it's funny how the most important meeting, because unfortunately they have declared redundancies, and with this Freeport, I mean, I have to make decisions on what meetings I go to. The chief exec went to. There is a paper out on the Freeports. They want to talk about a Freeport, being a Freeport area. So does Plymouth. So I have to be perfectly honest with you, councillor. The impact of it, I'm not personally sure on how that will benefit us. If it's just a question of giving a facility for people just to bring stuff in and then to take it out again without paying taxes, I'm not sure what benefit that would bring this sub-region, although it's out of. But if it was a question of bringing stuff in to assemble, and it was within a Freeport area, for instance, so there would be assembly plants or whatever, and that would provide jobs and growth for the sub-region, I think there would be a case of it. But I've not seen plans in detail for that. So it's just come about. It's one of those things with the economic recovery. I think I will be talking to the chief executive, and I think I have to speak with him, but it wouldn't hurt if I brought a brief statement or paper to the 1st of September executive explaining what's going on and how that impacts and how we can influence things for the benefit of people in Exeter. That's the only reason I would want to see a Freeport. Is it going to benefit jobs the economy and people in Exeter. So I hope that helps a little bit, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Bialik. I can't see any other hands, so I am going to thank you for your, I was going to say company this evening, but yeah, I suppose you've been with us virtually.
Yes, that's
yeah.
appreciated, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we move on to our second portfolio holder, Councillor Sutton, who is responsible for climate and culture in the city. Do you have a brief presentation, Councillor Sutton?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, committee members will have seen the fairly weighty document from all three of us about what's been going on. So what I want to do really is just kind of pick out a couple of key items rather than go through the whole document. And starting off with the paper on facilities and markets. The Corn Exchange has obviously been closed, as all other entertainment venues have been, but I was absolutely delighted that they have been able to stay open for blood donating sessions. And in fact, I went along myself a couple of months ago, and not only was it nice to be there and doing something helpful, but the member of staff that I met there was saying it was absolutely great that they were coming in regularly, and you know, he was able to actually do something as well as getting on with the maintenance. So that's worth noting. But the other thing that's happening down the Corn Exchange is we're actively doing some work on looking at creating a street level and accessible box office facility. So we would have a much more visible presence on the high street rather than having to kind of go around the back and up a flight of stairs and all of that. So yeah, watch this space on that one. We are quite hopeful about that. The Matford Centre again, the livestock auctions have continued because you know, farming life continues and the farmers have needed to actually get their livestock sold and to markets. Other aspects of the work down there have stopped, but it was used as one of the key distribution centres for shielded people up until June. So there's a lot of staff are actually working getting the food parcels out to people from the Matford Centre, and also there's work going on to reinstate the toilets down there. So it's a bit not quite kind of fixing the roof while the sun's shining, but actually getting on with that important work while the opportunity's there. The farmers market has continued again, because obviously giving people the best range of access to locally produced food is really important to us. But the Tourist Information Centre again has been closed. Moving on to RAM, again, work is going on since it's been closed with our environmental health colleagues to find ways of opening safely and successfully. We haven't got a date for that yet, but we obviously want to get RAM up and running again as soon as we can. Most people will know that the rates appeal, we were waiting for a Court of Appeal decision, was in fact successful. It was finally settled in our favour, which is a major victory, and gives us finances, access to money that we put on one side to pay that had we lost. But that actually is a really key decision, legal decision, which affects a number of other museums across the country. So it's a real landmark success. Unfortunately, a bit less successful. RAM's appeal for application for emergency funds from the Arts Council wasn't successful, but they really were very strict on the criteria and looking at putting the emergency funds into organisations that really were potentially going to kind of hit the wall by September. And although we weren't successful, I can report that the Phoenix Arts Centre was successful in getting some emergency funding, so that's a positive. But there has been work going on at RAM, although some of the staff have been furloughed, not all of them have. And there are a number of projects that have either been transferred to the virtual domain. I'm sure you're aware about the Lockdown Legends, which was a project put together at really short notice. And I hope there have been a lot of nominations for people to be recognised as the real heroes of the lockdown period in the city. There will actually be an exhibition of the photographs and those people in due course. I won't say a great deal about the other activities. You can see them in the report, and I know there's at least one question about that coming up later, so other people might have other questions there. But the other thing I would mention is there's been a COVID-19 art commission. Talk about getting opportunities from the challenges, and an artist, a local artist called Amy Shelton, who's done some great work, has actually been successful, and she is putting together an exhibition looking at wildflowers and working with the collections that we have in the museum. So as I say, there is work that continues, even though the physical building has actually been closed. And a small amount on the climate aspect of my portfolio. Exeter City Futures have been very busy. Their new managing director, Andrew Hardwick, has joined the organisation, and some of you will see him featured in a short video that he and I put together in response to the adoption of the Exeter Net Zero Exeter 2030 document that was adopted at Council 2 days ago. The other thing that they've been done, and I know I wasn't the only councillor to be hugely impressed, they've held 2 open conversations, which are events that would have happened in the real world but had to be rapidly transferred to Zoom. 2 of those have happened, both with over 100 people attending on Zoom. And I have to say, the way that the staff actually managed that was absolutely incredibly impressive. Everybody was kind of allowed into the meeting. We were put into groups. We were transferred into breakout groups. We had smaller meetings that we were facilitated and then recorded, and all that information is being put into the next stage of our move towards achieving carbon neutrality for the city. So there will be much more of that happening. I think I'll stop there because I know there were some specific questions and there might be other ones that have been raised by the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Sutton. Can I pass now over to Councillor Dynamore to read out her first question?
Thank you. As part of the city centre recovery, would the portfolio holder consider assessing the viability of moving the farmers market from its current location, which is a very harsh site in the winter, to a more prominent high street location, and increasing the days it operates and perhaps even the scope of a market offer? Thank you.
Councillor Sutton.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. I have to say we're really delighted that the farmers market was able to continue trading through the COVID-19 outbreak, and obviously it gave people access to the market, but also, as importantly, it provided access to sell the goods from hardworking local producers. I'm not sure that I agree that it isn't a prominent high street location. I think it's pretty visible and it is pretty successful. And the difficulty about other areas of the city is that they aren't in city council ownership. But I wish it every success. If there are ways of actually enabling it to open on more than one day, I would certainly be supportive of that. But that would be dependent on them being able to service that market. And I know a lot of the producers actually go around to other farmers markets in different parts of the counties on different days of the week, so they may not be available to take part in that more than once a week. But as I say, I'm pleased it's successful, and as I say, I think it's very well situated where it is.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you for your reply. I have had traders express their concern about the site. I wonder if you might be willing to have a meeting with them to hear some of their concerns if they wish to do that.
Always happy to talk to them. Yeah, of course.
Excellent, thank you. Can you move to your second question, please, Councillor Moore?
The RAM has undertaken some really great work online over the period. What can the council do, either with its council housing tenants and or, really, I suppose, with the wider community to address the digital divide? I do speak to residents who are unable to get out online for a whole host of things, and they're missing out on things like this and other opportunities. Thank you.
Councillor Sutton.
Thank you. Yes, and you're quite right. It is a challenge to actually make sure that everybody has the kind of access to the resources. Now that we can't just wander in off the street to a valuable free resource for local people. I can say that the staff around the offices at RAM have been very aware of that, and part of the RAM at Home project, which was a digital project, did actually involve producing some paper copies, some hard copies of the activity packs, and a number of them were distributed by the City Community Trust through the Wellbeing Hub. So when they became aware of families who possibly, as you say, didn't have access to online facilities, they were able to get hard copies. Yes, I mean, it just makes it even more important that as soon as we can, we get people back through the door. But if you are aware of particular households who are struggling, I don't know whether we've still got any activity packs, but I'd certainly be happy to put you in touch and see if they can be sent out.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary?
Thank you. No, thank you.
Excellent. Could you move to your third question then, please, Councillor?
The Visit Exeter website has a section on travel, but there is no strong message about prioritising active travel or public transport above road or indeed flying. Please could this messaging be reviewed?
Councillor Sutton.
Thank you. Yes, we do have a page called Getting Here on the Visit Exeter site, and it is structured so that it highlights public transport options over travel by road and air. And we do have specific sections on the walking and cycling opportunities around the city. So I think we do prioritise sustainable transport in the messaging as much as we possibly can. And you're right, there is increased interest in sustainable travel. But I would say that about 90% of our visitors do travel to Devon by car. And our target, geographically speaking, is the 2.5 to 5 hours drive time. So it's really important that we support our local transport hubs. And we also do everything we can to support them, because the visitor economy of the region and the city in particular needs all the help that it can get. What we're doing as part of the COVID recovery response is working to encourage our residents and also nearby residents to come in and see what is on offer in Exeter and encourage confidence. And as I say, active travel is part of that. And again, maybe this the new face mask wearing might be part of the things that actually encourage people to come and see what's available. And you will know that there is a Visit Exeter Economy recovery group that I sit on with other colleagues, which again is doing everything we can to make the city as safe and as attractive, and encourage our visitors to come back, especially as so many people are going to be having their holidays in this country and possibly still in this county rather than going abroad. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary?
Well, thank you very much for your reply, Councillor Sutton. It would be good if the message was made much stronger, because at the moment it doesn't, and the airport does figure quite highly. I would be very keen to encourage people who visit Devon to enjoy the bus, because that gives a good way of seeing Devon on your way in to visit Exeter. So I would really hope and strongly encourage that page could be just have a little look at again, please.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Councillor Moore, could you move to your fourth and final question for Councillor Sutton, please?
Thank you. As you said, the Exeter City Future events were very good. At the Exeter City Future's open conversation about mobility, participants expressed low confidence in the council's ability, and that's councils, both of them, ability to act to tackle carbon emissions from transport, tackle congestion or improve air quality. Can the portfolio holder explain what specific discussions have been held and actions agreed with Devon County Council to implement lasting changes to address these problems? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sutton.
Thank you. Yes, I'm not sure I would agree that the criticism was aimed at both councils, though I do know that there were points made to Exeter. And I think a lot of the lack of confidence from participants was aimed at Devon County Council, who, as we all know, are the Transport Authority. But as Councillor Moore will know, because like me, she was there, Councillor Andrew Ledbetter was on the panel, and he did confirm the County Council are committed to supporting measures to support the high street and neighbourhood centres through urgent transport measures. And you know, by definition, there were a lot of cyclists present at that, and that's no criticism of them. I'm delighted they were there and were taking part in that. But I think, you know, there might have been perhaps an over-representation of one particular section of the travelling public. There is a county transport strategy for Exeter, and that is shared, and a number of new schemes have actually been put into place as a result of the COVID. And I don't know whether Councillor Atkinson might want to talk to some about some of those, but we are seeing those put in place. And we do meet regularly as City Council, both officers and elected members, with colleagues at Devon County Council. So as I say, I think we need to give credit to them, because they were pretty quick off the mark in actually putting some of those schemes into place. And I really hope that they will be successful and they will prove to be permanent fixtures. But we do have to be mindful that we are in a financial crisis, and Devon, as well as Exeter, are facing extraordinary times. We will keep the pressure up, but as I say, we do have to be mindful that we're all looking to save money and recoup lost income, while at the same time being progressive and doing exciting and innovative things. We're going to have to look very hard at how the crisis has shifted our behaviour and hold on to the good things, as well as changing people's behaviour. And I know county colleagues feel similarly about that. I agree with you about bus travel being interesting from the point of view of views, but I do think at the moment there's a job to be done in actually giving people the confidence to get back on buses. And I think that is going to be a real challenge for all of us with the social distancing. And I know that the city centre traders are absolutely desperate to get as many people back into the city. Regardless of by what means of transport they actually arrive here. We were collaborating and supporting a bid from Stagecoach and Devon County Council for electric buses, which I think is still being determined. And we're working with Sport England as well as Devon County Council to look at as much as possible to, as I say, achieve our ambitions, encourage people to think about electric vehicles, electric bikes and electric cars. But, you know, I think we just have to be careful about this. We are still ambitious, but we are in completely unknown territory.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, yes. I wonder if Councillor Sutton would be able to bring up the number of schemes which have been quietly dropped from the proposals that Devon County Council made to improve safety for people walking and cycling, particularly on roads that have got pinch points, because there's a number of schemes that haven't progressed. And do you think as well that the proposed transport strategy that Devon County Council will be adopting should come to this council for scrutiny as part of that process of adoption, since it affects Exeter too. So there's two aspects to my response. Thank you.
Well, I know that our county council colleagues will be looking at the schemes that have gone ahead, and in fact, I think I'm right in saying there was a HATOC meeting possibly yesterday. So I don't know if Councillor Atkinson might be able to give some report back on that, because they are the decision-making body about those schemes. And again, with the transport strategy, I mean, Devon have been good. They have consulted us. And we have brought those plans to this council. I'm not sure that we can actually scrutinise another authority's document. I mean, we can invite them to come along and make a presentation to us as a kind of guest presentation, as we have done with other organisations in the past. I know they are encouraging of comments and critical friend suggestions, but as I say, I don't think we can demand the right to scrutinise their document. But I would be supportive of inviting officers, and indeed Councillor Rufus Gilbert, if you wish, to come along, should the committee and the chair think that was appropriate use of your time. Thank you.
Excellent, thanks very much. Yeah, I'm certainly happy with those sort of ideas, and I think we're looking at the way scrutiny moves forward in the next few months at the Scrutiny Programme Board next week. But yeah, really good ideas.
Chair,
yeah, I'll bring you in after the questions. It's just the way.
Okay, I just want thought you might. I'm just trying to take a note of what you want me to answer. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, I'll bring you in general discussion after, just because we've got two questions as Councillor Kevin Mitchell. So over to you, Councillor Mitchell, for your first question, please.
Thank you, Chair. My first question is, can the committee have more details on the issues related to the air handling system within RAM?
Councillor Sutton.
Thank you. This is another one of the things that you didn't know. And central government regulations around COVID are recommending fresh air intake settings rather than using recycled air in air handling systems. And full fresh air intake might be challenging for the particular system that we have in RAM, which was put in kind of way before COVID was a thing. But along with other things, while the building is without the public roaming around, the staff have been trialling the fresh air intake to fully understand its impact on the environmental conditions. So they're working across departments, because obviously we need to keep the public safe to open really safely, but we do need to be careful about protecting the collections as well. So it's quite a difficult balancing act. But yes, it's very much something that's being looked at the moment.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary question?
No, thank you, Chair. That was a satisfactory answer. Thank you.
Excellent. And over to your second question, please.
Thank you, Chair. My second question, when will Chief Crowfoot's regalia be repatriated to its native home of Canada? And have RAM created a register of any further items which might need to be considered for repatriation in the future?
Councillor Sutton.
Thank you, and thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Yes, I know that you were supportive of the decision to repatriate the regalia, and you'll know that Chief Crowfoot plans to visit in person to actually receive his forefathers' regalia and take them home. And clearly, that plan has been put on hold because of the COVID situation, but we really hope that he is able to come, and we're really looking forward to welcoming him. And I hope that the City Council will make the best of those opportunities, both to show him the rest of Exeter, but also to make it clear how supportive we are about these important cultural items going back to their rightful home. in terms of the wider register and other potential items, the process for repatriating of any items are in Appendix C of the New Collections Development Policy 2020 to 2025, which was agreed at an executive meeting. I think it was the April meeting, but it might have been the June one, and that gives quite a lot of detail. We haven't actually got a specific list because we just don't know what might be requested by whom. I should add, in terms of the Appendix C, it might need slight revision because the Arts Council are producing national guidance on repatriating and restitution, which is expected before the end of the year. But our policy has always been that we would decide things on a case-by-case basis as and when requests come in line with our policy and with any national guidance. But I think if we were to start making a list of what might be, it would probably take up an awful lot of staff time, potentially to no useful benefit. As I say, if items are identified and specific requests come in, we will look at those when they arrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary question?
No, thank you, Chair.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thanks to Councillor Sutton for answering those questions. Councillor Atkinson, I'll move on to you if you have any updates on Hattock. If members could just indicate if they'd like to take part in the debate. Councillor Lyons, I can see. That's great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Devon County Council does have responsibility for the Devon and in particular the Exeter wide transport plan, but this has been drawn up in liaison, obviously, with Exeter City Council over a number of years. And it was first discussed it was being consulted on very widely, as people will know, and it was recently updated. I took part in a standing overview group discussion, which I think is open to non-county council people as well to take part in it, and then it was also scrutinised by the relevant scrutiny committee and Devon County Council a couple of weeks ago, and it's formally adopted, and that is the high level plan. So in relation to Councillor Moore's request, she's able to certainly attend as a member of the public the scrutiny process and to ask members of the county council, and I am her county councillor, to ask relevant questions on that. So she has a lot of mechanisms for going in and getting across her point of view, either as an individual or through her county council. In relation to Hattock, we discussed at the meeting yesterday the pop-up highways orders, that traffic regulation orders that have come up, and again that is a meeting that was open to members of the public, and Exeter Cycling Campaign did actually attend that meeting, and it was discussed, and also a report has been made to Devon County Council at tonight's meeting, from which I can saying the number of proposals that were followed through. When I get the minutes of the meeting from yesterday, I'm certainly very happy to circulate that to all members of this committee, because it sets out exactly what pop-up measures have been taken forward, and obviously there had to be shovel-ready pop-up measures to spend the money, and we're now waiting for a second tranche. But the question I ask, have we spent it, or will we spend it all? And the answer is yes. And they've also done some projects where they've managed to dovetail pop-up measures and with maintenance that was ongoing as well. So all I can say is that there are lots of scrutiny and a lot of work is going on about those, and I will circulate them if that's very helpful. I'm happy to ask any questions if anybody wants to ask me out of the meeting.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Lyons.
Thank you, Chair. In actual fact, one of the questions I was going to ask, Councillor Mitchell has already asked, but I was pleased to see that the Livestock Centre was able to carry on with their sales through the time of the COVID. I know how difficult it is for farmers who have got animals that they need to move on. So I'm pleased about that. But I have got a couple of questions to Councillor Sutton. Firstly, Councillor Sutton, Ram, when we were awarded the rate reduction or whatever it is, did we get any costs awarded towards us for what all it cost us for doing it? That's my first question. And my second question on a completely different subject. I heard a rumour a few days ago that there was a proposal to have an outdoor music festival later in the summer. Can she tell me if this is true and when it's likely to be? Thank you.
Councillor Sutton.
Thank you. In terms of costs, my understanding was that we agreed with the other party to cover our own costs. I can't remember at which stage in the process, because this has been to various tribunals and courts over a number of years. You know, our costs, if you like, were built into our budgets, and the other side, you know, we didn't have costs awarded that we can claim, but we're very grateful because it's a significant reduction in the rates, and as you all know, we had a lot of money put on one side in had we been unsuccessful, so we won't actually get any more money than has already been reported to council, but we're very glad of that. In terms of an outdoor music festival, I mean, certainly the City Council aren't planning anything. I did actually see some correspondence with a music venue who were floating the idea, and you know, the information that I saw going back was that we didn't think it was going to be feasible. Certainly not in the time frame that they were talking about. So unless she's better informed than I am, I don't think anything is happening. And were there any applications to use our parks or open spaces, we would have to look very carefully at that. And at the moment, there isn't any indication that the gatherings of the kind of numbers a music festival would bring in are going to be permitted, certainly not over the summer.
Excellent, thank you very much. I can't see any more hands, so I'm going to move on. Thank you, Councillor Sutton.
Thank you.
Councillor Fole, portfolio holder for Planning and City Development. Do you have a brief presentation for us?
Yes, thank you, Chair. You'll have received 3 and a bit pieces of sheets of A4 as a report. You'll be pleased that I'm not going to read through those 3 and a bit pages, but I just have 8 key points. The service has continued to be provided during the pandemic, with staff, of course, being working from home. I think credit's due to our Chief Executive for how well that's worked. I attended a presentation that he made to co-workers a couple of years ago, asking them to embrace a vision of new ways of working, not being tied to a particular desk, working from home, being flexible. And I think it's that spade work that was done by Kareem that has meant that our staff have been able to work so effectively from home. Secondly, I was delighted that the recommendations made to the full council on Tuesday were adopted, reference the local plan and GES. That allows us to properly fund both those programmes going forward. Thirdly, there was an initial fall in planning applications, but this is now recovered to pre-COVID volumes. The planning committee, together with the delegated planning group, have been meeting regularly and I believe effectively via Skype and then Zoom. A new national permitted development right has been introduced to support health service bodies and local authorities' immediate response to coronavirus. It's meant that it's enabled developments ranging from the use of change of the use of existing buildings to the construction of a 117-bed Nightingale Hospital as one of only 7 built nationwide. Fifth thing to highlight is that we may have been able to support pubs and restaurants to ensure access to food during the emergency period, particularly with hot food takeaways. And the government has also relaxed planning enforcement over time restrictions on supermarket deliveries, allowing vulnerable people to be looked after better. Number 7, while 50% of construction work has stopped, quite a bit has continued. Some local authorities stopped undertaking any site inspections, but Exeter City Council Building Control has continued to inspect sites. I think that's important. And finally, the 8th thing to highlight is that in line with government expectations and to support the local economy, we've negotiated with developers on a case-by-case basis on the timing of their SIL payments. And that's due to the council, as well as the phasing of Section 106 agreements. And that's just to ensure that those obligations are met, but in a way that does not threaten the viability of any one development. So those, I think, are the highlights of the report, and I'm happy to answer any questions, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor. You have 3 questions. The first from Councillor Diana Moore.
Thank you very much. The council agreed to review the SIL charging structure last year. Has the emergency delayed this work? And please, can the portfolio holder provide an update on progress?
Thank you, Councillor Moore. The review of the SIL charging structure is underway. The emergency did delay the signing of the contract with the consultant selected to undertake this work by about 6 weeks. But the contract has now been signed and the work is underway, with some preliminary work having been undertaken before the contract was signed. It is hoped that the weeks lost can be regained as the work progresses.
Thank you very much. Do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you. So when will this be ready for the council to adopt?
I did state at Tuesday's full council, Councillor Moore, that the SIL charging structure will be reviewed as a central plank of our local plan, and any recommendations we receive there will be looked at with the local plan alongside affordable housing and the green agenda, as I stated on Tuesday.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jemima Moore, your question, please.
Thank you, Chair. How many SIL payments and Section 106 agreements have been renegotiated, and has expected community investment been put on hold because of this? If so, please can you give details of any major planned projects which will now be delayed?
Thank you, Councillor Moore. As a consequence of COVID-19, Exeter City Council has so far received 4 requests to defer SIL payments and 3 requests to vary the terms of Section 106 agreements. It's not anticipated that these requests will result in significant delays to any major planned community investment projects. The community infrastructure levy ones are for Taylor Wimpey, for Barrington Estates, for Mr. and Mrs. Starling, and for Heritage Homes. The Section 106 ones are in respect of Barrington Estates, the Vistry Partnership, and Taylor Wimpey.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary question?
No, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Foll, for your response.
Brilliant. That moves us on to Councillor Kevin Mitchell, please, for your question to Councillor Foll.
Thank you, Chair. Can the portfolio holder please update the Council on the progress towards reviewing the Council's existing policies towards the University's expansion, purpose-built student accommodation, and houses of multiple occupancy? Thank you.
Yes, I'd be happy to, Councillor Mitchell. In terms of Exeter University growth, updated student projections are awaited from the University over the next few weeks. Once these have been received, in the same way that has occurred in previous years, a report will be brought to members as soon as possible, setting out projections and comparing these to the current provision of PBSA in the city. The level of uncertainty about the projections is likely to be exacerbated this year by the impact of the pandemic, particularly upon international student numbers. I understand, Councillor Mitchell, that the university are anticipating something like a £70 million deficit next financial year, largely because of uncertainty over international student numbers. The Council's review of its existing policies on PBSA and HMOs is ongoing and will need to take into account the impact of the pandemic, which may not be fully appreciated for some time. In the meantime, following discussions between officers, the leader and the portfolio holder in early spring, it has been determined that any new policy on PBSA and indeed shared living will be covered by the emerging Exeter local plan that I've already mentioned, and not by the Greater Exeter strategic plan as had been originally intended. This is because the issue of student accommodation, we believe, is Exeter specific rather than being a strategic matter that relates to the Greater Exeter area and the other 3 local authorities.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. And thank you, Councillor Foe. That was very helpful. Can I please have an assurance that when we start looking at the emerging local plan, that neighbourhood plans such as the Exeter St James neighbourhood plan are taken into account, and also the Article 4 direction, as obviously both of those have a huge impact upon student accommodation within the city?
Yes, you have my assurance, Councillor Mitchell.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We can now open up for a debate if members wish to, and I have Councillor Atkinson.
Thank you, Chair. Bob, just 2 things that I'd just like to ask you about. And one is about the local plan, because the risk register says that we're obviously going to be going out to consult on the Greater Exeter strategic plan, and then as Plan B, the local plan. So I just want to know how the 2 dovetail together. So are we going to have a Greater Exeter strategic plan as well as a local plan, or are we going to have a local plan only if the Greater Exeter strategic plan doesn't proceed, doesn't go through, because obviously it's a voluntary plan which requires the other districts to go with it. So that was just the process going forward for that, and how and what role we would have as a scrutiny committee. And then secondly, I think you'll probably be aware that the government has made an announcement that it tends to give permitted development rights to people to put an extra 2 stories on their houses. Whether we will be, I presume there'll be some sort of consultation process, and how will that will affect Exeter if that goes ahead, and what routes we have into trying to block that, certainly in light of the request that was made at the council meeting from the historic Exeter. I mean, just if the government allowed that to happen, I mean, it could have a devastating effect on Exeter. Thank you.
To deal with the second question first, Councillor Atkinson, obviously we're entering into uncharted territory here, but I would still expect each and every application to be determined on its own merits, and there's more than one reason why one might turn down any particular building, whether it has 1, 2, 3 or 4 stories.
Yeah, but it's permitted development. We wouldn't be able to turn it down.
Councillor Atkinson, you can let Councillor Foll respond.
As I said, it's uncharted territory, and you know, I would not like to. I would hate to think that we could see any amount of extended buildings by 2 stories or more. But I think there's more than one way to skin a cat on these things. But we'll have to deal with that when it comes. As far as the Greater Exeter strategic plan and the local plan are concerned, my fear, Councillor Atkinson, was that it would be an either-or situation. And I was delighted that the recommendations, as I said earlier, to full council on Tuesday were accepted, whereby we can have both. Now, it's no secret that the Greater Exeter strategic plan has kind of stumbled along for the last couple of years. And last May saw elections that changed the majority in each of the 3 other district councils. And since then, the East Devon Council has resigned en masse. So they are far, far behind Exeter in any plans or indeed concrete commitment to a guest. And my fear was that we'd be left holding the baby, and there would be no concrete agreement from the rest of the authorities. Now, Exeter is committed to that guest. We will put in the staffing commensurate with our standing in the group, and we will try to get it over the line. If we can't, it's vital we have our own local plan, which we now have the resources to run, and we cannot have a recovery plan unless it is supported by a robust local plan that considers those things I've already mentioned about proper sill charging, affordable housing, purpose-built shared accommodation, and indeed the green agenda. I think it's vital to us. We can't have both if the other local authorities will play ball with us.
Thank you, Councillor Foll. I can see Councillor Owen.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Coming back to the conversation just now between Councillor Mitchell and Councillor Foll regarding student accommodation, I would like firstly to add my support to Councillor Mitchell's comments about the importance of the St James neighbourhood plan being taken into account in the future discussions on the local plan. But what I would specifically request to Councillor Bob Fold as portfolio holder, that as far as possible when the discussions are taking place on this particular aspect of the local plan, could consideration be given wherever possible to include in any such discussions the local ward members for the student populated wards like the Durryard and St James and St David's. Thank you very much.
And I will endeavour to do that, Councillor.
Councillor Lyons.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, my question relates to the Nightingale Hospital. I'm so pleased that they moved it into Exeter from the original proposed site out at West Point and used a building that was empty, for want of a better word. Can the portfolio holder tell me, is this going to be a permanent hospital or is it only going to be there temporarily? Because I know that the equipment they put in there is sort of first rate, and it would be awful if it was lost again, you know, sometime in the next 2 or 3 years. So can Councillor Fold tell me if this is going to be a permanent structure?
A lot of it has been seems to be shrouded in mystery, Councillor Lyons, doesn't it? To the extent that I actually took a drive over there to have a look and to have a chat with the people on site. And their feeling is, I don't know about permanent, but it certainly is not intended to be there as a short-term stopgap measure. I would hope it would be there for some time.
Good, because it's a facility that is needed in Exeter, and you know, extra beds are always useful. And so I hope, because the government has closed so many local hospitals. I mean, we had Whipton Hospital, Franklin Hospital, they've closed with beds in them. So the fact that we've, you know, now got more beds is going to help the locality along, whether we've got COVID or not.
I know, Councillor Lyons, that in the darkest days of this lockdown, we feared that we might be filling all 117 beds with COVID-19 patients. Hopefully, thank God, that will not be the case. But I know it's been earmarked certainly for recovering cancer patients. And there are plans to use it as in not just a short-term stopgap facility.
So the rumour I heard about it being used for orthopaedics is not true then?
I don't know. It might be for that as well. It's a large thing. It's actually been extended from the original plans. It's being built larger than it had been intended to.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you. Can I just pick up on this issue of timescale, please? The review of the sill charging structure and the council's policies towards university accommodation was announced last year. and the GESP is not due to be adopted until 2023. So how does that address the area's immediate problems and also the interim period? That's a very long time to wait.
I agree with you, Councillor Moore. It is a long time to wait. The fact is there are a lot of imponderables here. The university, as I said earlier, are anticipating a £70 million shortfall, and they're anticipating that because of students simply not coming. That will, if that is the case, that obviously is going to have a huge impact on the need for purpose-built student accommodation and the use of houses of multiple occupation. We don't know yet what the proposed numbers are from the university. Those are due within the next couple of weeks, and they will inform our thinking. As far as the SIL's concerned, then a group of consultants have been asked to undertake a piece of work which is underway. As soon as we get a report from those consultants, then we will introduce that into the local plan. I can't give you a timescale as yet. There are too many imponderables.
Thank you. Can I just make a quick response to that, please, Chair? Very quick. I am very concerned that in this interim period that there will be proposals for applications which aren't currently covered by our planning policy, such as co-living and such like, which are going to cause other problems in the community because we don't have the policies to address these. So I'm very concerned about how these things are going to be managed by the council's planning system.
Okay, thank you very much. I can't see any other hands being raised, which brings this evening's meeting to a close. So please thank all the portfolio holders for their attendance and all the questions that have been asked. And we don't have a date for the next meeting. However, there will be scrutiny after the August break. As always, it's going to be reviewed by the Scrutiny Programme Board. Thank you very much, and have a lovely summer.
And you too, Chair.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you.
Luke.
Thanks, Luke.